Grand Prix of Trois, and that's why they're running the camo schemes, two different camo schemes, which is actually kind of nice because the two GM Paillet cars are often painted so very similar here in the NASCAR Canada Series. But you can see how many people are out on the front straightaway as they continue to go through the driver introductions here on the front chute. So we're in the midst of the driver introductions here as we prepare to bring you the Rousseau Medal 60 at the Grand Prix de Trois, and it is a beautiful day for a motor car race, as the saying goes, and it is a tough one to pick a winner in this one. There is so many people who could find victory lane here today, and this is such a wonderful event and one so many of these drivers want to reach victory lane. You have somebody like Andrew Ranger, who has made it to victory lane a record 4 times. Alex Tagliani can tie that with a win today. He's reached victory lane 3 times, most recent back in 2021. And you remember, just last year, when on lap number 1, Kevin Lacroix lost his brakes and actually jumped up and over the 27 of Andrew Ranger into turn number 2, both of them ending their day early. Kevin Lacroix has 2 wins here, Ranger with 4, so that took out a couple of heavy hitters at the Grand Prix of Trois, and we'll see what happens here today. But those restarts are going to be likely action-packed as they have been in the past. And we've seen some very, very close finishes. You have to remember back to the famous finish between Andrew Ranger and Kerry Mix, when Ranger won it by 12/100ths of a second. But who is going to put their name on that trophy here this weekend? Again, the starting order has Cameron on pole, Kevin Lacroix starting second, Alex Tagliani rolling off in 3rd spot. Then it's Ranger, LeBay, LP Dumoulin in 6th, DJ Kennington, Justin Arsenault in 7th and 8th, and then JF Dumoulin and Alex Gannett who reach victory lane. He picked up his only NASCAR Canada Series victory here at the Grand Prix de Trois, so looking to repeat that. It could be a sleeper pick. If you're making some wagers with your friends or just trying to pick a winner, Alex Gannett might be one to watch because he's got Canadian Motorsport Hall of Famer Scott Steckley as his crew chief. That car prepared in the 22 Racing Shop, so definitely some good equipment underneath the 39 of Alex Gannett.
On a une cible dans le dos, mais il faut bien gérer ça. On a une belle position de départ en première place, mais en même temps, il faut penser championnat, il faut penser que ça prend des bons points ici en sortant de Trois-Rivières. C'est certain qu'on a la chance d'y aller pour la grosse victoire, on va y aller, mais il faut penser aussi être intelligent et prendre des bons points pour le championnat.
On va gérer, on va essayer de garder ça un petit peu plus relax que l'année passée. L'année passée, au 2e virage, est arrivé la catastrophe. Donc, on va se rendre au 3e virage. Après ça, toute la pression est libérée
Quebec,
pour le reste de la course. Je pense qu'on est ici pour avoir du fun. C'est sûr qu'on a plus de fun quand on gagne.
Ouais, ménager, comme je dis, ménager la mécanique, avoir l'équipement pour se battre. Parce que, d'après moi, avec les statistiques que j'ai vues dans le passé, Trois-Rivières, ça se joue tout le temps dans les derniers 10 tours. Donc, faut être l'équipement dans ces tours-là.
Tagliani saying you got to protect your equipment and keep it for the last 10 laps of this race. Those are the most important ones for the event. That is the Rousseau Medals 60. And again, the weather was threatening at the beginning of the weekend, and it just cleared out and turned into an absolutely spectacular weekend. And another
Voici
one
pour la série NASCAR Canada de cette 54e édition du Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, l'interprétation de l'hymne national en musique par l'École de leadership et des recrues des forces canadiennes.
The national anthem and the flyover by Canada's military. Here, as you can see, a packed grandstand, and it is packed no matter where you turn. Here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, the fans had been filing in since well before the gates opened. As a matter of fact, there was a lineup before the gates opened here early this morning. We got here about 7:45 for early duties, and the gates didn't open till 8. That didn't matter. There was a lineup about 100 people strong waiting to get in to take in today's event here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. One of the marquee events on the NASCAR Canada Series schedule. It is race number 9 on the season. Marc-Antoine Cameron does hold a slim 10-point lead over Kevin Lacroix in the point standings. Andrew Ranger is 1 point further adrift. So the top 3 cars, Cameron, Lacroix, and Ranger, those 3 are the only 3 to visit Victory Lane. Cameron with 3 wins, including 2 of the last 3, but Lacroix won at our last stop on the oval in Edmonton. Andrew Ranger has picked up a couple of wins already this year. Don't count out LP Dumoulin. He's won here in the past. He would love to win in front of his hometown crowd. He's from right here in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. As I mentioned, he's done it before with a couple wins to his credit. And he hasn't won since 2021, believe it or not. So it's been well over 2 years since the 47 has visited Victory Lane. Could today be his day, or could it be the 04 of JF Dumoulin, who is making a start here today? These are the exciting questions that we get to answer when the field rolls off in moments for the Rousseau Medal 60 at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. The drivers have been introduced. They are buckling into their cars as we speak here on the front straightaway. And we should tell you there is a mandatory pit stop for these drivers. So it has to be taken anytime after the green flag waves. So as soon as the race starts, the competitors are allowed to pit, but that pit stop has to be completed before lap 50. So that's the window that the drivers and the teams, most importantly, have been given to make their pit stop. Will they take tires? Some might. That's all up to the strategy of today's game. Likely it'll be a quick fuel stop, a splash and go, get some gas. It could be early in the event. Some drivers saying and some teams saying that they may want to wait just a little bit later to see how this all plays out. So it's the strategy involved. You don't want to wait too long because you have to get in, make your stop by lap 50. So if there's an early caution, you can expect a land rush of people coming down pit lane. Again, a quick splash and go. They don't need much extra fuel to make it the entire distance here in all 60 laps of the Rousseau Medal 60. But they do need extra fuel, and you have to throw in the variable. The big question is, will we have a green-white checkered? We've seen that in the past where the drivers and the teams need extra fuel just to make it that extra distance. So do you save over the course of the race and hope to stretch your fuel mileage, or you put in a little extra gas just to be on the safe side?
Du deuxième régiment blindé du Canada, Madame Nathalie Richard de Richard et compagnie, Monsieur Marc Bergeron de Prolong Contrôle, Monsieur Simon Boutillier de Rousseau Métal, Monsieur Martin d'Anjou de Festidrag.tv, Monsieur Jean Lamarche, maire de Trois-Rivières, le ministre du Travail et ministre responsable de la Mauricie, Jean Boulet, Monsieur Alain Labrosse de NASCAR Canada.
Introducing the dignitaries here on the front straightaways. You can see the large crowd still there. Now, the teams are allowed 1 person per car from the crew for driver comforts, is what they say at this point in the event. So they're just tending to the drivers to make sure the drivers are comfortable, they have everything they need, and then they will make their way back to the paddock in the pit area, which is way back down this front straightaway towards turn 11. And we'll take you through, once these cars start moving, we'll take you through this track and the intricacies of it, because it is a tricky little track. It's not that long. But there you can see the drivers getting strapped in and ready to go for today's race, just making sure that they are comfortable. That's Andrew Ranger in the 27, again, the driver who has won the most events here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. 11 straight years at one point. The driver of the 27 never placed any worse than second. That's how good that Andrew Ranger has been. How about Alex Tagliani? He's back in that 80 car, an unfamiliar number. He did run it at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, but he's running only the road courses here in 2024, not the ovals as he has in years gone by. But he has the Saint-Hubert sponsorship in a Donald Teague prepared car. So Donald Teague has been running the 80 on the ovals, and Alex Tagliani running the road courses here in 2024. That said, Donald Teague on the road course here today in the number 73. Saw a quick shot of Kevin Lacroix as well, again second in points coming into this one. Qualified in second, but nearly 4/10 off the pace laid down by Marc-Antoine Cameron. Super quick in practice, very
Madame la
quick in
Présidente du Conseil
qualifying.
du Trésor, Madame Sonia Lebel, la ministre du Tourisme au Québec et responsable de la région de Lanaudière, Madame Caroline Proulx, le ministre du Travail et responsable de la région de la Mauricie, Jean Boulet, a prononcé les mythiques paroles du sport automobile pour ce départ.
Attention.
Attention.
Pilote, démarrez vos moteurs. Drivers, start your engines.
There's the words that everyone wanted to hear, and a cannon salute from our troops to these drivers on the front straightaway as they get set to put on a show. Look at the fans in the stands, in standing room only. They're peering around each other just to get a good vantage point of turn number 1. The crews collecting their last bits of gear and making their way back to pit lane. The dignitaries making their way off the front straightaway. The drivers now strapped in, collecting their thoughts. As they get set to do battle, and it will be a battle. Look at the lineup of NASCAR Canada Series cars here on the track at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. As a matter of fact, 31 starters here today, 32 entrants. Unfortunately for JF LeBert, she ran into some trouble in practice coming into contact with the concrete wall. So he missed the tire wall, hit the concrete in turn number 2 in practice, and that car was damaged beyond repair. And so he had to withdraw from today's event behind the wheel of the Dagobert number 91. So he will not be making a start. So that leaves us with 31 starters for today's race. And a couple of side notes too. Sam Fellows and Steve Cote both have new engines in those cars. Sam Fellows with engine trouble in qualifying. He did manage to put 1 lap in. Steve Cote did not. But he received special permission from NASCAR to replace the engine after the car developed a significant misfire and then wouldn't go for qualifying. So Cote got that motor changed out in the morning, and Sam Fellows started it last night, finished it up today, but was still sort of tuning on it as they were rolling this car out onto the track. So we'll keep an eye on those 2 drivers, the 29 Everum sponsored entry of Steve Cote and the AER Polysleep number 87 of Sam Fellows. And Fellows is looking forward to this event. He really likes it. He's finished in the top 10 in the past, driving a car prepared by Jim Bray. And so he said, you know what, I think we can do this. And he said he had the right attitude. He says it's going to be fun coming from the back behind the wheel of his 87. He knows the car's good. Now he knows he's got a good engine under the hood as well. You look at the front of this field and look at the quality of talent that you have here in the NASCAR Canada Series. You have Marc-Antoine Cameron, you have Kevin Lacroix, Alex Tagliani, Andrew Ranger, Alex LeBay, LP Dumoulin, DJ Kennington, young Justin Arsenault up in 8th spot. A great qualifying effort for the driving instructor from Circuit iCar, who has just a handful of starts in the NASCAR Canada Series. Remember, he was running comfortably up inside the top 10 and flirting with the top 5 a year ago. And Justin Arsenault taking that step further and surprise a bunch of people here today. He definitely showed some speed in practice and then backed it up in qualifying, putting the 03 in the 8th position to roll off here for the Rousseau Medal 60 at the Grand Prix Trois Rivières. And then don't forget about JF Dumoulin, who had a runner-up finish behind his brother a couple of years ago. He's looking to take that top step of the podium. Again, his father has won here in different series. His brother has won a couple of times here in the NASCAR Canada Series. Can JF Dumoulin become the 3rd member of the Dumoulin family to reach a victory lane here on the hallowed grounds of Grand Prix de Trois Rivières? The field rolls off behind the pace car, as you can feel the excitement in the crowds, and they're waving off to their favorite drivers. And now all of the opportunities to meet the fans, and there have been many. The drivers have been crowded by fans in the paddock area nearly all weekend. They've been popular like rock stars here amongst the fans who have filed in over the course of the weekend. Now they get to concentrate on just one thing: what lies ahead for 60 laps here in the Rousseau Medal 60. And now getting heat in those general tires, making sure the brakes get up to temperature as they want to throw them into turn number 1 for the first time. There you see, Cadet just in behind. That is the blue number 7 and an unfamiliar car. Yes, because that is a first start for Raphael Lessard in that car. It's prepared out of the WMI race shop, the White Motorsports shop. It has the sponsorship from the Trois Rivières Lions, the local hockey team. And unbelievably, you know who owns that hockey team? Spire Motorsports, who also owns a NASCAR Cup Series team. So that deal came together relatively late. Benefits Raphael Lessard because he said, I didn't have a lot on my plate and I could probably fit it in. He was already going to be here because he ran the Chevrolet Urban Challenge for the Dirt Modifieds, a race that he won this weekend. But Lessard ended up being a pretty busy individual. Ran qualifying, the Urban Challenge feature, and then jumped in a helicopter, went all the way up to Autodrome Chaudière, about a half an hour, 35-minute flight in a helicopter, landed, started dead last in a late model race, ended up finishing 3rd last night. And I said, man, you must have slept like a baby. He says, I was too excited to sleep. But he's excited to get things underway today, and crossing his fingers that this could turn into more of a long-term deal. We could see Raphael Lessard in more events over the course of the 2024 season. We already know he's going to be at Autodrome Montmagny for the final race of the season in September. But definitely one to keep an eye on here today is Raphael Lessard behind the wheel of the number 7. Jason Hathaway, Daniel Bois, 12th and 13th, JP Bergeron 14th, and then Simon Zion-Vienne in 15th spot. And we mentioned Simon Charbonneau, LP Montour, Donald Teach, Herbie Drescher, then Daryl Timmers. He made his very first start in the NASCAR Canada Series here 1 year ago. He's back, qualified in the 20th position as we continue under pace laps in the lead up to today's events. Dave Corsol in the 54th, and Larry Jackson, Thomas Neveu, and Glenn Stiers will make up the 23rd, 24th starting position. Steve Cote, that's where he would have been placed, but he'll drop to the back. Frederick Ladouceur is making his first start in the 51. What a great story there, too. It's a car prepared out of the DJ Kennington shop, but Frederick Ladouceur is a late model driver here in Quebec, and a lot of drivers suggesting we should keep an eye on him. He's got talent. He's got a good head on his shoulders, and he is just over the moon excited to get things underway here today behind the wheel of the 51. I talked to the Chief Don Reinhardt, who said good feedback, good back and forth chatter between the driver and the crew over the course of practice and the qualifying. And keep in mind, he only has about 20 laps of practice on really old tires. We'll see what the driver of the 51 can do. Jocelyn Fecteau and Ben Kutsur, then Dominic Scrivo, Serge Bordeaux, and Sam Fellows will make up the 31 starters here today for the Rousseau Medals 60 here at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. Now, taking you through this course, and it is a difficult one because it is a street circuit. And typically with street circuits, you get concrete walls on both sides. That makes it intimidating for the drivers, but it's 11 turns, relatively short at just over 1.5 miles in length, and it's predominantly a left turn track. So you have 11 turns, only 3 right-handers, including this one. You see the field going through that white wall area. That is considered turn number 7. It's more of a kink down the straightaway into this one, the left-hander of turn number 8. So passing areas right here in turn number 8. Turn number 6 was the one you saw them come over that hump at the end of Boulevard du Carmel. Into turn number 1 obviously is a good spot, and then potentially in turn number 2 as well. That said, these drivers will find passing opportunities where you don't think there's any passing opportunities available. They'll make that happen. That's what happens in the NASCAR Canada Series when they start turning left and right. It's why this series is so exciting every step of the way and every track they race on. So once again, we continue under caution in the lead up to today's event. 60 laps, the scheduled distance, and again, there is a mandatory pit stop anytime after the green flag waves, but before lap 50. The cars have to stop. They can take tires, but they must take fuel. They have to take fuel because they need that extra splash of gas to at least make it the distance. If they don't take gas, they will run out. So they could just be a fuel stop. Some of these drivers may decide they don't need any tires for the long run, and so they will stay out. It all depends on track position and the different scenarios that could play out. So watch for the pit stops to happen potentially early. Some are going to wait a little bit later. We're hearing potentially as late as lap 25 even before some of these cars will come in, just because fuel mileage could be a little bit more of a question. So this is turn number 6, and that is, again, one of the best passing opportunities, but you're met with a concrete wall on the exit of turn number 6 and a large bump through the apex of turn number 6. We've seen in different series over the course of this weekend that has caught several drivers out, but now the field will double up heading through turn number 7 in this short chute, so it's going to take a little bit of time to get this field bunched. There's 31 vehicles here in the NASCAR Canada Series on the streets of Trois-Rivières, Quebec. The pace car looking for pit lane. It is in. We are moments away now from the start of the feature of this wonderful weekend and festival of motorsports here in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. Look at the depth of field and the depth of talent here in the NASCAR Canada Series. This is one of the right-handers. It's turn 10 as you see the field go through 2 by 2. Turn 11, a bit more of a kink. Now they are onto the front straightaway and looking at the flag stand, and it will be dual green flags, and we're underway here in the Rousseau Medals 60 at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. A clean start in turn number 1, not so clean in turn 2. It's contact with the tire wall. It goes the 96. That was a push from the 74 of Kevin Lacroix as they work through turn number 2, and now the first time through the Duplessis gates. You can see how tight that turn is as they go side by side. Marc-Antoine Cameron slows now back to the 03 of Eli Arsenault. Alex Tagliani, your leader into turn number 6 for the first time. That was nearly a repeat of 2023, but Kevin Lacroix, instead of getting up and over a GM Paillet car, just nudged the 96 Marc-Antoine Cameron, who did catch the tire wall, but really had to back out of it. As the leaders now work through the Titan twisties here at turn 10. On to turn 11, and lap number 1 will be complete. And the fans who are sitting on the front straightaway will wonder what happened to that camouflage number 96 to Marc-Antoine Cameron, and Alex Tagliani, who started in 3rd, is now up as your race leader. So Lacroix and Andrew Ranger, 2 teammates, chasing the number 80 of Alex Tagliani. You can see LP Dumoulin up to 4th, Alex Labay in 5th, DJ Kennington running in 6th spot, Cameron down to 7th, and a battle for the lead on the outside of turn 6, and a brush to the tire wall goes Kevin Lacroix, as he's very aggressive in the early going of this one. Lacroix really wants a piece of that lead, and he doesn't want to wait to take it away. You can see the red marks. That's the paint from the tire wall has plastered the side of that Napa Auto Parts number 74 of Kevin Lacroix. All the while, Andrew Ranger is sitting back and waiting and watching to see how this one is going to play out. Still nose to tail in through turn number 2 as they work down the Duplessis gates. These are the famous gates through turn number 3 that makes this track so iconic. And now onto this straightaway, which actually isn't a straightaway. It's several corners. Turns 4, 4A, 5, and into turn number 6. Look at Lacroix to the inside. There's bumps in that braking zone, but the 74 will stick it down low. Tagliani thinks better of going that hard that soon, and he'll tuck in behind the 74, chase him into turn 7, and now turn 8. So there's single file top 3, but that pass has allowed the WeatherTech Dodge, the 47 of LP Dumoulin, to close the gap a little bit on the GM Paye number 27 of Andrew Ranger. Now Cameron back up into 6th, so he did get around both DJ Kennington and Alex Labay during that lap. Cameron, no doubt, with smoke coming out of his helmet inside that cockpit, he is elbows out and wants to get back to the front. Boy, when he gets there, I would hate to be Kevin Lacroix. As pit stop time has begun. Remember, we told you that they could happen at any time after the green flag waves, so lap number 3 will be the pit stop for the 7 car of Raphael Lessard. That's when the field, or the crew, has decided. And a spin in turn 11 for the 0 of Glenn Stiers. And it sounds like Marc-Antoine Cameron will be pitting on lap 5. So we'll keep an eye on that brown camouflage, the desert camo, GM Paye sponsored number 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron, pitting on lap 5. The reports from the pits indicate. Kevin Lacroix has opened up a bit of a lead now on second place. Andrew Ranger, as Alex Tagliani has dropped back a little bit. And I believe Tagliani has headed down pit lane in the 80 car. There he is, Tagliani, with some damage to the right front corner. So the crew goes to work on the right-hand side, but he's getting fuel. Now they're taking a look at it, but there is some damage as the bodywork sagging a little bit on the right front corner. Now I don't see any damage that he might have hit something, so potentially some malfunction, a breakage in the right front corner of the 80 car of Alex Tagliani, the Saint-Hubert team, going to work on pit lane, but this leaves 2 teammates at the front of the field. Kevin Lacroix, the Napa Auto Parts number 74, the GM Paye number 27 of Andrew Ranger. Collectively, those 2 drivers have 6 wins here in the streets of Trois, Quebec, and they would love to add to that total as well. Not to mention, the 47 has a pair of wins. The 96 is the defending champion of this race and holds the track record. So yeah, the cream has risen to the top. Alex Labay just ahead of DJ Kennington, just out of camera range, and here is Tagliani back out on track just ahead of your race leader. I believe he is just at the tail end of the lead lap. So if he can keep Kevin Lacroix at bay, he will maintain his spot on the lead lap. It doesn't look like it's going to happen as LeBay tucks to the inside, excuse me, not LeBay, Lacroix. Lacroix tucks to the inside through those bumps under braking into turn number 6. And it does look like something is amiss on the right front corner of the Saint-Hubert, number 80 of Alex Tagliani. Because now Ranger goes through and Tagliani is off the pace. That's heartbreaking for that team. Starting third here today, they were looking for a very good finish and potentially a win. He thought he could surprise a lot of people. Tagliani headed back down pit lane. Marc-Antoine Cameron has turned the fastest lap of the race so far. Keep in mind, he qualified at a 106.9 second lap. His fast lap in the race is 107.8, so a second off his qualifying time, but it's not supposed to work that way. It's supposed to be a vast difference between qualifying and race trim. Not for Marc-Antoine Cameron as he closed the gap now on the 47 of LP Dumoulin. Battle for third spot shaping up as you see the crew working feverishly trying to figure out what has gone wrong on the 80 car of Alex Tagliani. Tagliani, though, falling laps down to your race leader Kevin Lacroix in the Napa Auto Parts number 74. It's Andrew Ranger. And again, that's tribute to the troops from J.C. Paillet, the owner of GM Paillet. And he said he just wanted to do something to honor the Canadian troops. There's so much support for veterans and troops in the U.S. And he says you don't get a lot of it here in Canada. So plastered on this livery here for Rivières, Quebec. And look at Cameron trying to get around. That's turn number 9. That is an optimistic place to make a pass. But again, Cameron might be a little bit hot under the collar there. Still, after getting pushed into the tire wall into turn number 2 on the very first lap. And we've completed lap number 7, so I don't think Cameron is in any hurry to make a pit stop at this point. I think he wants to get track position before he does that. But he surely hasn't lost the group in front of him as the Alex LeBay, number 36, comes in for his fuel stop. There's the AER, number 87 of Sam Fellows. So he'll get his fuel stop. They will be done for the afternoon if they so choose. They do have the option to take another pit stop, possibly to get tires later on if they want to. But those drivers do no longer have to pit. Oh, and we got a problem, and that's Justin Arsenault, the 03 in turn number 6, and he loops it back around in front of several drivers who have to slow down dramatically to avoid. Arsenault with damage to the nose after getting into the tire wall in turn number 3, and the youngster from Circuit iCar, and now the GM Paillet number 96 down pit lane. You can see the livery is dragging. That wrap has been torn off after contact with the 74 on lap number 1 into turn number 2. The crew won't bother with that. They just want to get the allotted fuel in. Justin Arsenault has, I'm just waiting to see as they all cross the line where he is going to settle in. And he is now down the running order in 17th position. Justin Arsenault is. Alex Ganetz has made his pit stop. Steve Cote in the 29 up to 11th after an engine change on the Everum number 29. Let's go to look at Daniel Bly and the number 88 of Simon Charbonneau. Again, a couple of drivers. Simon Charbonneau, who has some experience here, and here is your lead duo. The 74 of Kevin Lacroix with that pancaked right-hand side because of the tire wall in turn number 6, and the 27 of Andrew Ranger. They're both in for a fuel stop. Lap number 9 will be the lap of record for their fuel stop for Kevin Lacroix. Quick dash of gas and back out onto the track. So no tires for either of the Innovative Autosport entries. Two teammates stopping at the same time. So your race leader now, the WeatherTech Dodge of LP Dumoulin from Rivières, Quebec. DJ Kennington in second in the 17, and the 04 of J.F. Dumoulin is in third. Simon Charbonneau has yet to make his stop, currently sitting in fourth position. And Kevin Lacroix and Andrew Ranger came out of the pits, I believe, in fifth and sixth. There's Charbonneau in between both Ranger and Lacroix. Here's your leader now. LP Dumoulin, slowly. He knows the speed limit based on the number of revs on his tack. They discuss this with the NASCAR officials before the start of the race. The WeatherTech number 47 finds he is stalled. The pit board is out. The fuel can goes in. They need to have it a perfect stop. Do not get that fuel can caught in there. It does not. A splash of gas on the ground doesn't matter as the 47 down and away. There's a good look at Serge Bordeaux. Daryl Timmers moves to the inside of Dominic Scrivo. So the curb records, number 98, picking up a spot. Timmers currently now in 26th position as he works over the number 75 of Ben Couture and still the 03 of Justin Arsenault limping around the track. So, and problems for the 73 of Donald Teach as well. Teach slowing. And it looks like Teach is looking for pit lane. That car had some issues with brakes in practice. The crew confident they had it fixed, but it looks like Teach off the pace. So this will be more than just the mandatory fuel stop for Donald Teach as he comes into the pits from 23rd position where he was on the racetrack. Well, let's tell you who's leading right now. How about the 04 of J.F. Dumoulin out in front? This is a battle for second position. Kevin Lacroix, Andrew Ranger, Simon Charbonneau in fourth spot, and then LP Dumoulin. And I believe Simon Charbonneau has decided to duck into pit lane. Oh, there he is. He just got passed by the 47 of LP Dumoulin, so he drops back just a little bit. And now Kevin Lacroix is your race leader as the 04 decides to make his mandatory pit stop. So these are all the changes that are happening when you have mandatory pit stops, and then you have drivers and crews trying to figure out different strategies of when to make those stops. Some staying out a little bit longer, some haven't stopped at all. The 88 of Simon Charbonneau, I don't believe, has been down pit lane, but currently gaining a lot of experience sitting inside the top 5. Ahead of the 17 of DJ Kennington, J.F. Dumoulin came out of the pits in 7th position, just ahead of Raphael Lessard. Remember, Lessard was one of the first to come down pit lane. Now Charbonneau will dive down the pit entrance and get the fuel he needs to make it the distance here in the 88 car. And again, this used to be a race that was about 50 laps, 51 laps, and the drivers could easily make that distance on one load of fuel. You didn't need to make a pit stop, but the organizers here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières wanted to insert that strategy aspect, make it a little bit more difficult for the team, so they stretched the laps to 60 in the Rousseau Medal 60 here for the NASCAR Canada Series, and that meant a mandatory pit stop for fuel. They needed to stop to make it that entire distance. You couldn't stay out, you would run out. And so it really has shaken things up in the last several years. And have a look at these cars. Top 4 in points coming into this event are now in the top 4 of this race on the track. DJ Kennington just ahead of the 04 of J.F. Dumoulin. There's Alex Tagliani back out and doing laps. He is several laps down at this point, as it appears as though they've been able to fix whatever was ailing that Saint-Hubert number 80. Alex Labbé is working over the back of Raphael Lessard. The blue car, the number 7, is Raphael Lessard. Again, a car prepared out of the WMI shop in the sponsorship and a partnership with Spire Motorsports, who owns a cup team in the U.S. Just in behind Alex Labbé, Frederick Ladisser making his debut in the number 51, a car prepared out of the DJK stable, DJ Kennington's shop and team, preparing that car for the youngster, a late model driver, and currently sitting 9th spot on the racetrack. That's a great run for young Frederick Ladisser, who calls Mirabel, Quebec home, so potentially could see him at more events here in the NASCAR Canada Series. He's that excited about getting into this series and turning competitive laps. As LP Dumoulin continues to hold off a charge from the GM Pinty number 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron. So where are we on laps? There's still 47 laps to go. So now there will be 46 laps to go. That's 14 in from the 60 we had scheduled at the start. And problems for Daniel Bois. He's off in the runoff area and he pulls it behind the wall. So one of those dark horse entries that could have really shaken things up in the front of the field, obviously with some mechanical difficulties on the Sierra Excavating number 31. So that's heartbreak for Daniel Bois, the driver out of Bracebridge, Ontario. We've seen him several times here in the NASCAR Canada Series and often flirting with a top 10, possibly even a top 5 finish. But today won't be his day as he stops, and I believe that was in the runoff area of turn number 6. The issues, too, that some of these drivers will face, and I'm not saying this is the problem with Daniel Bois, but this track can be hard on rear-end gears and transmissions, but also brakes as well. And because of the bumps in some of the braking zones, you tend to hop the back end. The back tires hop a little bit, and that can cause a breakage in rear end. Sometimes you hit the curb, sometimes you can brush a wall. And there's lots of problems that could arise over the course of a lap here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. But teams and drivers were saying brakes were going to be an issue, and the Transgestion number 88 of Simon Charbonneau is off in the runoff area. Could that be? I think that might have been in turn number 3. But remember, he just made his pit stop, was sitting in 13th position. He's going to fall well back on the running order as the leaders start to work their way through lap traffic, and Andrew Ranger into the tire wall in turn number 6. Ranger, who is sitting in 2nd spot, has lost his rear bumper cover, which is not a significant issue for the car. It is because there's now debris on the racetrack, and that may in fact draw a full course caution. Have a look at what happened. Ranger just locked those rear brakes and caught the tire wall, and then caught the right front tire of the 47 of LP Dumoulin. Dumoulin tried to squeeze by as best he could as Daryl Timmers in the Jim Bray number 98 comes down to make his pit stop. Caution flag flies, so it will be a full course caution for that debris up in turn number 6. But wow, a rare mistake from a multi-time champion in the NASCAR Canada Series and a 4-time winner of this event here at Trois-Rivières, Quebec, as Andrew Ranger's checking to make sure that car still turns okay. So Kevin Lacroix is your leader right now under caution. And LP Dumoulin did get up to 2nd, so that's where the 47 WeatherTech Dodge is currently sitting. But remember, he did make contact with the nose of the 27 of Andrew Ranger on turn number 6. So how bent is that right front corner of the WeatherTech Dodge as LP Dumoulin sits in 2nd spot. Marc-Antoine Cameron back up into 3rd. Keep an eye on this restart. That's going to put him directly behind the number 74 of Kevin Lacroix. Remember what happened on the initial start. Lacroix drove the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron right out to the wall, and not a scheduled pit stop for the 98 of Daryl Timmers. He is done. That car up on jack stands. So it looks like it might be a transmission issue or something gone wrong. It's too bad for the driver from Whitby, Ontario, just outside of Toronto. He said they made some changes during practice, and by qualifying really perked up the car. He was looking forward to making a march through the field. And that march ends right now with that car up on jack stands. Daryl Timmers marked in 28th position on the track right now. A couple of drivers who are trapped, as not fully lapped down, but almost, will get sent around. That's Jocelyn Fecteau, Benoit Couture, and Serge Bourdeau. They'll tag back onto the back of the pack, but have a look at the field as it moves through. Tagliani several laps down, but still on track. They appear to have their issues fixed up, so he's turning competitive laps, but unfortunately for Tagliani now, he is 4 laps down in 30th position. But with Timmers sidelined, with Daniel Bois sidelined, Tagliani's going to move up some spots. So for owners' points, it is beneficial to stay up there. There you can see the top 4, now 5. So Kevin Lacroix is your race leader, followed by LP Dumoulin, Marc-Antoine Cameron, Andrew Ranger, JF Dumoulin, DJ Kennington, Raphael Lessard, Alex Labey, Frederick Ladouceur in 9th position, and Jason Hathaway in 10th. Alex Gannett, JP Bergeron, Sam Fellows. Remember, Sam Fellows started last on the field. He's made his pit stop, and he's up at 13th right now. So the 87 is showing some great speed as a couple of drivers in front of him have had some issues. It looks like Tagliani's going to fall out of the mix and drop to the back of the pack. Justin Arsenault marked in 31st position as 7 laps down after coming into contact with that tire wall. As you can see, the crew not really thrashing too hard. Here comes the 51 of Frederick Ladouceur. So this is a little bit earlier than that team was hoping to pull the driver in. They say their fuel mileage wasn't quite as good as they wanted it to be. They wanted to stretch this a little bit further to have a lot of padding there for the young driver. Again, Frederick Ladouceur in his very first start at Mirabel, Quebec. A late model driver with about 20 laps experience here in the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières and loving every single one of those 20 laps. But Ladouceur will come out of the pits with a topped up tank of Sunoco fuel and rejoin. We'll find out where he'll slide in. It's going to be at the tail of the pack, so he'll find his spot in behind Simon Charbonneau in 21st position. So he comes in 9th, comes out 21st. Serge Bourdeau and Benoit Couture, a couple of drivers in to make their stops as the fuel can goes in. The 55 of Bourdeau, the driver from Saint-Eustache, Quebec, and the 75 of Benoit Couture comes in to get some gas as well. You saw the 03 of Justin Arsenault stopped up against the wall, so the 440 Chevrolet entry is done for the day. Unable to continue as Couture gets the gas he needs, and he'll be down and away. It's actually not having that bad a day. 23rd. Serge Bourdeau was sitting in 22nd. Both those drivers a lap down to your race leader, but I think Bourdeau could have received the free pass during this caution period, but has opted to make his fuel stop instead. There is Justin Arsenault out of the car, and the damage to the nose likely pushed back into the radiator, or at least crushed. They call it the airbox on the front of that car, and it's right behind the valence, so you can see the screened opening. So no, Jocelyn Fecteau is going to get the free pass. The 77 will be released as the pace car pulls in, so now Fecteau will have to get on his horse and try and catch the back of the field, but the 77 being put back on the lead lap for this spot, so, or for this caution period. He gets to go flat out. The field still at caution speed in the lead up to this restart. And there is a restart zone. You can see the cones on the fence, and that is where Kevin Lacroix is allowed to get on the gas, and the green flag waves, and he clears everyone going into turn number 1. You saw LP Dumoulin slot in a second spot. Here's third place now, the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron, and the rear bumper cover gone on the number 27 of Andrew Ranger. Now he can continue without that. He just needs that rear spoiler to stay intact. So the deck lid, the trunk lid, needs to stay there on the 27 car. And so far, so good. But look at that car bouncing under braking. That's likely what caused him to spin into turn number 6 in the first place. He gets on those brakes in the bumps in turn number 6, and that car hops and jumps every which way. Now remember, there was contact with the right front corner of the 47 of LP Dumoulin. We'll keep an eye on that car as he's defending on the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron. Cameron trying on the inside of turn number 9. He won't be able to do the outside of turn 10. That's a single file lane, and off of turn number 11 they go, heading down the front chute. Kevin Lacroix now opening up a bit of a gap. 0.8 seconds, so 0.8 of a second over second place in that battle between the 47 of LP Dumoulin and the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron. You can see some damage there, and I believe that is from the 37 of Simon Zion-Vienne. He has fallen down, and there you can see it. There was a log jam of cars moving up through that turn 3 area, and the debris on the ground was the right front or the left front fender of the 37 Duclos entry of Simon Zion-Vienne as the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron completes the pass. And that is a textbook pass right in turn number 6. You pull out alongside, you brake, and both drivers make it through there okay. And now Ranger, an opportunity in turn number 9. So is something amiss on the WeatherTech.ca? Number 47 of LP Dumoulin falls back another position as JF Dumoulin goes around on the outside. DJ Kennington is going to be the next to have the 47 in his sights. Kennington just ahead of Jason Hathaway in the Assa Abloy number 3, but Kevin Lacroix, that red stripe on the door after getting into the tire wall on the opening set of laps, now has the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron just in behind. Lacroix drove Cameron outside in turn number 2 as LP Montour with big damage to the back end of the 13 car. Tire is down on the right rear corner as the Dumoulin Competition team goes to work on the 13 to make the necessary repairs and hopefully get LP Montour back out on track. Look at the logjam of traffic. This is all in behind the WeatherTech number 47 of LP Dumoulin, who made contact with the 27 of Andrew Ranger after Ranger spun in turn number 6 to bring out that caution. It was the debris from Ranger's car that led to that caution. And that 47 car has not been the same as he's trying to hold off a challenge by DJ Kennington as the field works through the lap traffic. They managed to catch the 77 of Jocelyn Fecteau, did the 74 of Kevin Lacroix and the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron. Cameron is looking for a way around. Will he do it aggressively on Kevin Lacroix? Remember, these two have had run-ins several times this season, including in Newfoundland, where both drivers ended up spinning. Well, what is going to happen here? You know Cameron is still just seething inside that helmet as he tucks in behind the yellow back bumper of the 74 of Kevin Lacroix, the Napa Auto Parts Dodge, just in ahead of the GM Paye Chevrolet number 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron. Tucked in the draft down the front straightaway. Cameron's going to duck out into turn number 1. Is there contact? Not quite. A haze of the right tire as Cameron locked it up. He'll cross back over in turn number 2. A little bump to turn 3 as he rides him down through the Duplessis gates. Out to the concrete wall now, still in the tire tracks of the vehicle in front of him is Marc-Antoine Cameron. Will he move to the inside? Late braking, can't do it there as Kevin Lacroix is going to brake just as late in his normal racing line to maintain the lead. Now Cameron's going to back off a little bit, and caution is going to come out, and it is full course caution now for Frederick Ladouceur, who has caught the front stretch wall on the exit of turn number 11. So that's the two cones that indicate the restart zone. So that shows you exactly where we are. It's the turn 11 area, the exit of turn number 11. So something has gone amiss in the 51, and he slapped that concrete wall. No tire wall there. And that is an unfortunate end to the day for the driver out of Mirabel, Quebec. Frederick Ladouceur making his first start here in the NASCAR Canada Series. And now Sam Fellows is down pit lane. Remember, they had engine trouble, and they were forced to change an engine in the lead up to the start of this event. Sam Fellows was in 17th position, and you can see Alex Tagliani, the plates measuring the toe in, going on the side of the tires, and Dave Courceau with some big damage. Again, there was that accordion effect going into turn number 3 on that last restart. And you can see there's a good example. I was talking about the airbox earlier, and that's essentially a box of tin that directs the air from the nose and that opening down low right into the radiator. If you take a hard enough hit on the nose of that car, it crumples that airbox, and now no air gets to the radiator. That car will heat up very, very quickly. And you can see on the front end of the 54, the airbox was, it's actually gapped to the radiator. You can see it moving there as they start to move the front body work. And the work continues on the Saint-Hubert number 80 of Alex Tagliani. Ladouceur is out and moving around, so that's great news. It appears as though he's okay, but he'll jump into the NASCAR officials' truck, and they'll take him back to the pit area. But disappointment, no doubt, written all over the face of the young driver, who has great potential. A lot of the drivers, including Andrew Ranger, Tagliani, said keep an eye on this one. He's going to be a good one, so we'll keep an eye on him for sure. Hopefully he'll be back for more starts in the NASCAR Canada Series, not just a one-off here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. But work continues on pit lane for a number of different drivers. It looks like Sam Fellows released as the hood goes down. He wants to maintain his lead lap position as the leaders come through, and the cleanup continues just off turn number 11 for a stricken number 51 of Frederick Ladouceur. But wow, not even at the halfway point yet. We're still 5 laps away from that. But Kevin Lacroix leads Marc-Antoine Cameron, Andrew Ranger, JF Dumoulin, LP Dumoulin, DJ Kennington, Jason Hathaway, Alex Labay, Raphael Lessard, and Alex Gannett. That's your top 10 as it sits right now. There's Gannett just going through the bottom portion of your screen. JP Bergeron is in 11th. Thomas Neveu in 12th. 2 cars prepared into the Dave Jacobs Racing Stables, and Dave Jacobs has several wins here with different drivers in the past, so he's been pretty good. Larry Jackson up to 13th. Steve Cote in 14th. Herbie Drescher with a top 20 run sitting in 15th spot. Simon Charbonneau in 16th, even with that runoff into the runoff area. Serge Bordeaux, Benoit Couture, and Simon Zion-Vienne, along with Sam Fellows. That is the cars that are on the lead lap. So 20 cars still on the lead lap. And it looks like the 80 car is towed out. So some contact for Alex Tagliani at some point in this event, and that has knocked the toe out of the, essentially, if you don't know cars, if you're watching this event just like racing and like the spectacle, well, the toe is the direction in which the front wheels are pointed. If the front of the front wheels are pointed together, that's a towed in situation. If the back of the car, the tires are pointed together, then it's a toe out situation. Either way, if you think about it, if you think about it the way you're skiing, if you have one ski that's moving crooked and the other one is straight, you're obviously not going to go very fast, and that's what the 80 team is trying to correct. Make those two wheels go as straight as possible with each other, becoming parallel. That's the word I was looking for. And now you see Tagliani down and away. He did lose a couple more laps in pit lane. But still in 28 spots, so he has managed to get around the 98 of Daryl Timmers and the 31 of Daniel Bois. He will soon pass the 51 of Frederick Ladisser. So, I mean, Tagliani staying out there is collecting those all-important owners' points. Field continues under yellow. Again, Kevin Lacroix is your race leader after starting on the outside of the front row. But remember, there's a storyline here. There's always a storyline. It's the NASCAR Canada Series. He made contact with the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron on the first lap, pushing him all the way out to the tire wall in turn number 2. So what will Marc-Antoine Cameron do this time? They will start alongside of each other. Now Cameron will be on the outside, so that's where Kevin Lacroix had started originally. Kevin Lacroix, though, dictates the start on this restart as the field lining up 2 by 2. That means the lights off on the pace car, and there they go. This field will prepare for a restart, this time on the front straightaway. So we'll get back to green here with 34 laps to go, so nearing the halfway mark here in the Rousseau Medal 60 at the Grand Prix of Trois, Rivières, a storied race on the NASCAR Canada schedule. They've been here 17 seasons. This is the oldest street race in North America, first held in 1967, and it still holds the excitement of that very first time in 1967. Look at the number of fans packing this facility to watch this race, among others that have been held over the course of this weekend. Lacroix, Cameron into the restart zone. The green flag waves once again, and we're back underway. And they're side by side in through turn number 1. Cameron thought about laying a donut on the door of the 74, and a bump into turn number 2 from the 96. A couple of other cars get jacked up into turn number 2. Lacroix maintains the lead, stays straight, even with the help from the 96. Now Kennington gets past the 47 of LB Dumoulin, so move DJ Kennington up into the top 5, having a great run in the Castrol Edge Dodge. Jason Hathaway will follow him through in the Gas Abloy number 3. Up at the front, though, a 4-way battle. Kevin Lacroix leading the 2 GM Paillet-backed entries, not teammates. Marc-Antoine Cameron in the Desert Camo number 96. And Andrew Ranger in the Jungle Camo number 27. It's actually Ranger and Lacroix who are teammates. And those 3 vehicles are just ahead of the 04 of JF Dumoulin. We talked about how much he would love to win this race. It's a one-off. He hasn't started a race in the NASCAR Canada Series yet this year. This is his first time, and did the 96 brush the wall on the inside? In turn number 1, he might have done that. Yes, there's a little bit of fiberglass damage on the right front corner of the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron as we watch him try to take a little different line to work his way around your race leader, the 74 of Kevin Lacroix. But this is getting good, folks. Top 4 now stretched to gap over 5th place DJ Kennington, Hathaway, LP Dumoulin, and Alex Labay, Raphael Lessard, and Alex Gannett. Your top 10 as it sits right now on the track. We saw Cameron give a pretty good shove to the Napa Auto Parts number 74 of Kevin Lacroix going through turn number 2, and there's some debris in that stretch leading up to turn number 7. And so that will likely call for a caution as Cameron moves to the inside looking for the lead, and he'll take it away in turn number 1. No caution yet as Cameron takes over top spot around the 74 of Kevin Lacroix, who falls back into the clutches of his teammate Andrew Ranger. Still, J.F. Dumley sitting in 4th, DJ Kennington in 5th position. I don't know what happened to that debris off of turn number 6. The track marshals obviously staying behind the wall. The blue flag indicates there is something on the racetrack, but it might be far enough outside the racing line that they'll stay green. So the NASCAR officials no doubt discussing this as a big chunk of bodywork sits on the racetrack. And we have a new race leader in Marc-Antoine Cameron. Now, we know he's been quick when he gets by himself as we hit the Fresto Brands halfway mark. And Cameron can lay down some pretty quick times, as he's shown in practice and in qualifying. As a matter of fact, he's run the best time of any driver so far in this event. His best lap coming on lap number 5, when there was still lots of tread, lots of good, as they call it, left in those general tires. Now, the beauty about these general tires is they don't drop off too much. The times don't necessarily drop off too much. And around goes the 1 car, turn number 3. Oh, that's a big hit for JP Bergeron, the E-Racer number 1. Again, we were talking about him. That car prepared at the Dave Jacobs Racing stable, and he has stuffed it in there large. Huge crumple in the back end of the Ford Mustang in turn number 3. That car is still sitting there in now a full course caution. So that debris will get cleaned up on the lead up to turn number 7, but more importantly, the 1 car of JP Bergeron, who was in 11th position racing with his teammate Thomas Devers, goes for a loop in turn number 3. Have another look at what happened, and that car had already gone up in smoke. So yeah, that was an engine problem that started that one, and it was lucky that nobody else got caught up in it. You saw Thomas Devers go off in the runoff area in the 24, so taking an avoidance measure to get around the number 1 of Bergeron, but his day is done, and this is more than just a spin. As you can see, the smoke coming out under the hood of the E-Racer number 1. So heartbreak for the driver who finished inside the top 10 1 year ago. JP Bergeron running only a partial schedule here in 2024. Will not come close to that here this year. Helmet's off. He's okay. That's the good news. But there you can see there's no smile from JP Bergeron. Normally, Bergeron, pretty smiley character down in the pits, very friendly, always willing to talk to fans and supporters alike. So there's the bumper cover that is down on the ground. I'm not sure who that belongs to, but it has been fairly rough and tumble in the back. You can see Alex Gannett in the number 39, and he's got a giant opening back to his radiator, so he doesn't have to worry about coolant or anything of the sorts. See a fender missing on the number 37 of Simon Zion-Vienne. That was an incident that happened a while ago, and it looks like a red flag being shown on the field. So the flatbed truck needs to go across the track. So we're going to stop the vehicles on track and show the red flag. So work must stop in the pit area for any drivers who are trying to get service done. But this one should not take very long to get this one cleaned up. The cleanup crew have been very, very good all weekend long in getting pretty much everything cleaned up in short order. Looks like Donald Teach will be the driver who will get the free pass in the 73. So remember, he had an issue, fell off the pace just a little bit, lost a lap down pit lane, but the crew made the necessary repairs, and it obviously wasn't something that was too significant. He was able to get back out on track and maintain pace, but there you can see all of the fluid down on track. There's lots of oil. So that's a result of the engine expiring on the Ford Mustang. Out of the Dave Jacobs stable, so you can see a lot of speedy dry being put down. Now, they do have street sweepers around here to try and get that cleaned up, but how much will they get it cleaned up, and how much will that play a factor? The drivers will see it for the first time under pace laps, but then what's going to happen at speed? Will it stick? You remember, when we go back to green, some of these drivers will elect to go 2x2 through the Duplessis gates. That is turn number 3. But it's a beautiful setting here in Trois, Quebec. Picturesque day with fluffy clouds and beautiful sunshine. As we sit under a red flag, stopped here on lap 31 of 60 in the Rousseau Medal 60 at the Grand Prix of Trois, for the one of J.P. Bergeron, who had an engine expire, and that sent him into the tire wall in turn number 3. We can take you through a little bit of a recap of what has happened so far as the cleanup crew diligently picks up all of that speedy dry in turn number 3. They've done a pretty good job by themselves. They don't need a street sweeper. They have a street sweeping crew. A round of applause for the cleanup crew here today, as they've done a fabulous job. But we say that in jest, but it has been an eventful day for the NASCAR Canada Series. The drivers involved, the 96 and the 74, got together in lap number 1. Marc-Antoine Cameron making some contact with the tire wall on the outside of turn number 2, and then the 74 of Kevin Lacroix actually went a little wide on the exit of turn number 6, and he caught the tire wall over there as well. That caused the red stripe down the right-hand side of the 74 of Kevin Lacroix, and the 27 of Andrew Ranger. Problems in turn number 6, his own. And he went for a loop, but when he did go for a loop, that car was sitting crossways. The 47 of LP Dumoulin was chasing him, made contact in the right front. And I suspect something is bent on the right front of the 47 car of LP Dumoulin, because he was up inside the top 3, top 4, and now he is struggling to hang on to a top 10 position, sitting in 7th position, but his lap times not nearly as quick as they once were in that WeatherTech.ca Dodge Challenger. And then we come to this point with the engine expiring and the one of J.P. Bergeron causing his most recent caution. There was debris on the straightaway between turn number 6 and turn number 7, but this ultimately drew the caution and the red flag here on lap 31 of 60 in the Rousseau Medal 60. So the stories we were following coming into this event, there you have another look at what happened to Bergeron. Again, it looks like the hood was already sort of buckled up on the front end of that Ford Mustang as he spun around in his own oil and ended up in the wall. Now the team, the E-Racer Back team, which is a new hydration drink launched by J.P. Bergeron, as a matter of fact, with J.C. Perreault on board as supporters of the one team here in 2024. They'll pull their equipment back to the paddock area, get it loaded up onto their hauler, The next race on the schedule will be back on an oval, I believe, as the field still sits stopped on the front straightaway. There's the initial green flag being waved. And here's the contact between the 74 and the 96. Watch what happens in turn number 2. So Lacroix is in there, makes contact with the 96 and continues the contact until Cameron touches the tire wall. Tagliani took over top spot, but it didn't last long, as the 74 of Kevin Lacroix had come back through, and this is where Tagliani had toe problems come up. Justin Arsenault was in the top 10, and he put the 440 Laval Chevrolet into the tire wall on the exit of turn number 6. That is a corner that has caught several drivers out over the course of the day. Lacroix leading Andrew Ranger and LP Dumoulin, but then Ranger goes for a spin in turn number 6. You see the back end goes for a loop. Look at that hit right there on the right front corner of the 47 of LP Dumoulin. So Dumoulin did not pit, nor did Andrew Ranger after that incident. The caution flag did come out for a piece of debris on the track, and then Dumoulin tried to fight for a little while, but it was the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron who found the opportunity going into turn number 6. Dumoulin gave him the space and the room to get through, and then Ranger came through in turn number 9, which is an interesting passing spot, and that opened the door for JF Dumoulin as well. Frederick Lattiser in the 51, his first starts in the NASCAR Canada Series, found his way into the outside retaining wall off of turn number 11. That's a concrete wall, so unforgiving there for the young driver to Mirabel, Quebec. And then this most recent restart, look at Cameron give a huge shove, and you can see some pushing and shoving. Gannett got into the back of the 36 of Alex LeMay. That caused the front end damage to the 39 car of Alex Gannett. And then this, the reason for the red flag, and now a yellow as the red flag has been pulled in, but JP Bergeron, excuse me, going for a loop in his own oil in turn number 3 after that motor decided he no longer wanted to be a part of this year's Rousseau Medal 60 here at the Grand Prix of 2010. So yeah, the next race on the NASCAR Canada Series schedule is from Delaware Speedway, and that comes up on Saturday, August 17th. So in just a short turnaround for these drivers. So grab the oval cars and head over to Delaware Speedway just outside of London, Ontario. And back on a half-mile oval. So one of the longest ovals that the series will campaign on here in 2024. We have to go from the tight and twisty confines of a street circuit here at 20 near Quebec. You get a pretty high-speed oval at Delaware Speedway. And it's that diversity that makes up the 2024 schedule for the NASCAR Canada Series. As you've got ovals, street courses, road courses, and even a dirt track at Ohsweken. It was pretty cool to see a couple of big names in that dirt track race at Ohsweken. Ken Schrader coming north to make the start in a 22 Racing supplied vehicle, and of course Chase Briscoe, an active Cup driver. I believe he's the only active Cup driver to make a start in the NASCAR Canada Series. Chase Briscoe starting at Ohsweken, and there goes the WeatherTech 47 of LP Dumoulin. So he is going down pit lane. He has made a scheduled stop, but obviously something is wrong in the right front corner, and the team has decided now is the time that they should take a look at it, with still 27 laps to go as the field crosses the start-finish line, or it might have been a tire going down. Tire still up, got plenty of air in it on the right side. You can see the left side's coming over the wall. So a 4-tire stop for the driver out of Trois, Quebec. And the crew doesn't have to hurry too much. Dominic Scrivo in for some adjustments as well. The rookie driver in the 69. And so they're going to take a look underneath the hood and see what could potentially be bent on the right-hand side. Well, they give it a wave off. The pin's going back in the hood. That driver on the lead lap. That's the main goal. So down and away goes the WeatherTech.ca number 47 of LP Dumoulin. So interesting. They took a look at that right front suspension and did not find anything. As you see a little bit of debris now on the back straightaway. I'm not sure it's enough to require a cleanup truck to head out and grab, but we continue under caution, and looks like the light's off on the pace car. So the answer to that one in short order is no. We're going to continue on. The 474 of Kevin Lacroix, the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron. We'll do it again, side by side. And again, they do have a history. Remember, they got together in Newfoundland. Both went for a spin. That opened the door for the 27 of Andrew Ranger to take the win in that race. And so now, Cameron in the control car position, so he dictates how fast this start is going to be or how slow it might be. It looks like the 88 of Simon Charbonneau was looking pit side, and I don't know if he made it there, but there's a couple cars heading down pit lane. You see the bumper cover missing off the 7 of Raphael Lessard as well, so at some point he's been hit in the back and the bodywork has been knocked clear, but that's okay as long as he's got that rear spoiler. He can continue. Green flag is back up. We're back underway here with the Rousseau medals. 60 after a lengthy delay from a red flag. Cameron leads them into 1, now towards 2, but he'll drag along the 27 of Andrew Ranger. Couple cars get together. DJ Kennington goes around off the nose of the 3 car of Jason Hathaway. Everybody scatters to avoid the 17 of DJ Kennington, who was stopped on the racetrack. He finally refires, but that was contact from the 3 of DJ Kennington. And look at the nose of the 04 of JF Dumoulin. A crumpled up right front corner on the nose of the 04 of Dumoulin. But he is staying out and appears to still have speed in the Omnifab Dodge Challenger. Bunch of body work now littering the track. You can see the tires knocking it out of the way as the 2 GM Paillet cars do battle, and now the 0 of Glenn Steyer's slows on the entry to turn number 3. He refires. A lot of black smoke coming out of that car. It's always hard to refire these cars after they've been running. They get really warm. Carburetors don't necessarily like that too much. But Cameron holding off a hard-charging Andrew Ranger again. Cameron won this event last year. Ranger has won it 4 times, including 11 straight years where he never placed worse than second here on the streets of the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. The 27 now all over the 96. A wiggle under braking. You remember how uneasy that 27 car was going into turn number 6. That might be his opportunity to make a pass. But if he does, he's got to be very careful, does Andrew Ranger, as he continues to hunt your race leader, the number 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron. Couple of Quebec drivers in front of a Quebec crowd. Actually, the top 5, all from Quebec, as Raphael Lessard in the 7, running the hometown hockey team as a sponsor on that WMI entry, is inside the top 5. What a run for him today. So it's Cameron and Ranger through turn number 3 once again. Cameron a little bit better But have a look at this restart, and the 74 slides way out. And as a matter of fact, he's already given up that position. And it looks like the 3 car did the same thing. DJ Kennington was taking his regular line, and the 3 popped out after running wide in turn number 1. He really had nowhere to go, and contact ensued. DJ Kennington and the Castrol Edge Dodge gets the worst of it and goes for a loop. I can tell you that Kennington fell all the way back to 16th position, chasing the 77 of Jocelyn Fecteau the last time they crossed the stripe. So Kennington still on the lead lap, but just ahead of the drivers who are now marked as a lap down. Remember, he was in the top 5, and he did finish in 5th a year ago in that Castrol Edge Dodge, and DJ really loves this place and was hoping he could get a good finish. There's still some time left in this, still 23 laps to go in the scheduled 60, and it looks like Kevin Lacroix not quite as quick as he once was in that Napa Auto Parts number 74. He's losing touch a little bit with his teammate Andrew Ranger, who in turn is losing touch a little bit with the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron. How about Thomas Neveu? 7th position on the racetrack. Here's LP Dumoulin trying to come back after making that pit stop. He's in a battle for 12th spot with Simon Thion-Vienne, who suffered that damage on one of the restarts, tearing off the left front fender. There's the bodywork hanging and dangling from the Trois-Rivières Lions number 7 of Raphael Lessard. And Lessard still running inside the top 5, having a very, very good run. The Omnifab 04 of JF Dumoulin with damage to the nose. The best news for him, it doesn't appear as though that damage is crushing the grill area, so you can see that grill is untouched down low. It's really just the hood that's crumpled, and best part is it's the other side. Driver doesn't really have to look at it that way too much. If he's looking at it that way, things have gone horribly wrong for JF Dumoulin. So at this point, soldiers on, as you can see take another look at what happened. Benoit Couture on the brakes, a little wheel hop under braking. And the 51 car, Frederick Ladisser, is back out on the track. So really good job by that DJK crew to get that car put back together, as Benoit Couture slapped the wall just in front. I had to do a double take. I thought the 51 left on the flatbed. He did, but they made the necessary repairs and got him back out just to get some experience. That's a cool afternoon, and a great job by that crew. So Ladisser in 28th position, so I'm still picking up some laps and picking up spots as the afternoon goes on. Next time across the stripe, there will be 20 laps to go. Here are the Rousseau Medal 60 at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, and now the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron opening up a bit of a gap on the 27 of Andrew Ranger. It's about 0.8 of a second the last time they crossed the stripe. It might even be about a second this next time by. Here's a good battle deeper in the pack. So that's Thomas Neveu and Jason Hathaway. Battle for 8th and 9th. Larry Jackson, currently sitting in 10th spot, has just turned his quickest lap of the race. And Donald Teege continues to work his way forward in the Benoit Teege inspired number 73. And that 73, a number driven by his brother Benoit here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières in the past, and Donald running it to honor his brother as a member of the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières Hall of Fame. Because of course, the 80 car normally driven by Donald Teege. Donald splitting duties with Alex Tagliani so far this year in 2024. Donald doing the ovals, Alex doing the road courses. Not having great luck here today, unfortunately. Starting 3rd, led some laps, and then has now been marked way down in 23rd position. He's 5 laps off the pace after something went amiss. The toe went out, so the toe angle on the front tires. The alignment, essentially, on the front tires went out as Alex Guérin has managed to get around the 7 of Raphael Lessard. So Guérin moves up inside the top 5. There's Alex Labbé. And there's that Thomas Neveu, Jason Hathaway, and soon-to-be LP Dumoulin battle. A little bit deeper further back, but a couple of drivers from Quebec. Thomas Neveu, or excuse me, that's the 39 of Alex Guérin at Rosemere, Quebec. And I mentioned it off the top of the show. The driver of the 7, Raphael Lessard, had a day yesterday. He was here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. He qualified the NASCAR Canada Series car, and then he ran a feature in the Chevrolet Urban Challenge. So he drives a stock car, then he drives a dirt modified on the asphalt. He wins that race going away. He was pretty much on cruise control in that race. Visits victory lane. They cut victory lane short because he had a helicopter to catch. He had to get to Autodrome Chaudière, which is about a 35-minute helicopter ride, because he needed to run a late model race, an ACT late model race there. He started dead last. He finished 3rd. And he said not only that, he says, I made contact with somebody. I had to go to the pits, went back to the back of the pack, and then still marched forward and got 3rd. So he had a very eventful day. And now he's having a pretty good one, sitting inside the top 10 here in the number 7. Is Raphael Lessard. There's a good look. Driver started on the outside of the front row and led early on, the 74 of Kevin Lacroix, trying to hold off the Omnifab 04 of JF Dumoulin, who is from right here in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. His best finish here at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières, 2nd spot. So far, he's been unable to get that monkey off his back and get to victory lane as Hathaway and Thomas Neveu battle. That is in turn number 2. So Hathaway tried to move to the inside in turn 1. Dumoulin has passed both of them in the 47. So whatever was problematic, a quick tire change has solved the issues on the WeatherTech.ca number 47. Now Dumoulin will be hoping for a caution as he's inside the top 10, sitting in 9th spot, actually up to 8th spot as he got around the 24 of Thomas Neveu. Neveu, he hasn't shown much pace over the course of the weekend. The Richelieu Home Hardware number 24 has been struggling a little bit, but come race time, it seems as though Thomas Neveu finds another gear. He finished in the top 10 here a year ago, and now Thomas Neveu is sitting in 9th position in that Dave Jacobs prepared number 24 Ford Mustang. Again, there is your lead quartet. About a second between Andrew Ranger, Marc-Antoine Cameron, then about a second and a half back to Kevin Lacroix. 0.3 of a second to JF Dumoulin from Kevin Lacroix. That's how close they are. So this is the battle for 3rd. It's the best battle on the track right now as laps continue to tick down. Now 17 to go here in the Rousseau Medal 60 at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. Field working through lap traffic as Dominic Scrivo, who's the car owner of Daniel Bois, as they call him Mimo. He checks his mirrors, listens to his spotters, and he pops up and out of the way of the race leaders as they make their way through. And now he'll do the same for Kevin Lacroix and JF Dumoulin. You can see giving plenty of space here on the front straight. He's not getting out of the gas, and he doesn't have to. He just has to give the opportunity for the leaders to make their way through. And they have done that. So check the last lap times. Andrew Ranger cut 0.2 of a second into the lead of Marc-Antoine Cameron. So what was 1.7 seconds is now 1.3 seconds. But of course, they came into lap traffic during that lap. That is going to be the variable that the people who are following Marc-Antoine Cameron will be looking for. The slower traffic, that lap traffic, that could affect this lead order in the late going of this race. Again, Cameron came into this race as your points leader. He was 11 points up on Andrew Ranger, who was 3rd. Kevin Lacroix sits in second, 10 points out of the top spot in the championship race. Dumoulin, who's having a little bit of trouble here today, was fourth. Jason Hathaway and DJ Kennington, fifth and sixth in the points race so far in 2024. Look at how packed this place is with the parking at the Hippodrome. The grandstands are filled to the brim. And it's Kevin Lacroix who's had problems. A broken axle on the 74 Napa Auto Parts Dodge Challenger. Kevin Lacroix will find the runoff area in turn number 2, and his day is done. Simon Charbonneau is parked in there as well. But Lacroix, who was in fourth position, he had given up the spot to J.F. Dumoulin the last time they crossed the line because that axle appeared to be going at that point. But wow, the driver from Saint-Eustache, Quebec, who was in the lead at one point, is now out of this race, and it does shuffle the front runners. Simon Zion-Vienne currently running in 11th spot. And you can see the Napa Auto Parts crew at Etienne Cliche in charge of that operation. And an uncharacteristic failure. And again, we mentioned it off the top that this place is hard on parts on these cars. Because it is a street circuit, it isn't as smooth as a prepared place like Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, or maybe an oval that these cars would normally race on. As the leader comes into lap traffic, it's Dave Courcol in the 54 just ahead. Serge Bourdeau is in between first and second place in the 55, but the bumps on turn number 6 on the lead up to it is Alex Labbé now putting pressure on the 7 of Raphael Lessard. And the upshifts and downshifts can cause parts failures pretty quickly and pretty easily. We've seen it in the past, and that one just appears to be an axle failure. So the axle shaft sticking out on the 74 of Kevin Lacroix, and that's caused him to leave this race early. But out in front is the number 96, so Marc-Antoine Cameron, now 2.5 seconds is the distance between first and second. J.F. Dumoulin, the hometown driver, sitting in third. And yeah, Kevin Lacroix knew something was amiss as he turned into turn number 1. And watch what happens here. There's the cap on the rear hub, and there is the axle saying surprise. And that's not a good surprise for the Napa Racing team and Kevin Lacroix, as Lacroix was looking for his third victory here in the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières, and that is not to come here today. His dad, Sylvain Lacroix, helping with the cleanup in the pit stall. There's Serge Bourdeau in the Excellence Chrysler number 55, just ahead of the 04 of J.F. Dumoulin. So J.F. still in fourth or third position. Alex Gannett currently running in fourth, then Alex Labbé, Raphael Lessard, LP Dumoulin, Jason Hathaway at 8th, Thomas Devere 9th, and Simon Zion-Vienne in 10th position. How about Donald Teach? He was at one point a lap down, and now he's up to 11th position. Bad run for him. The 84 of Larry Jackson in 12th. DJ Kennington has come all the way back up to 13th position. So don't count out the wily veteran just yet, as the leader continues to circulate and work through lap traffic. That's Frederick Lanitzer in the 51. Remember, he made contact with the concrete wall earlier on in this event. That car left on a flatbed. The crew said, you know what, it's not that bad. Let's fix it up. Send you back out. So they did. Give that youngster some laps and some experience. And you can see he's sailing that car around these corners sideways half the time for the driver of the 51. Good look at Steve Coche in the Abraham number 29. Take a look where Coche is running, currently 17th, and he is a lap down to your race leader, but he's had an eventful weekend. They had to change the motor in the Bare knuckle fighting, Evram number 29. He's tucked in behind Alex Tagliani, learning from one of the best. There's DJ Kennington, who has caught the back of the Big Chief Meat Snacks, number 84 of Larry Jackson. And so the difference there, only a few tenths of a second, and the leader into some heavier traffic as Benoit Couture pulls to the outside. So does Jocelyn Fecteau, and caution flies on the field. Waiting for the report on why this caution is out with 11 laps remaining, but there's no real indication. There must be a report of some debris or potentially fluid down on the track, or maybe even a car into a tire wall. Have a look. This is Alex Tagliani dancing under braking in the 80. Thomas Neveu, and look at the trail of fluid. You can see at the back, see the discoloration of the spoiler on the Richelieu number 24 of Thomas Neveu. So something broke on that car too. Thomas Neveu has had a season to forget, and not because he hasn't run very well, just because of stuff that breaks that really shouldn't break. As a matter of fact, one race, a broken throttle pedal took him out of that race. The car owner, Dave Jacobs, says, I have never seen a broken throttle pedal in all of my years of racing, and Dave Jacobs has a lot of years of racing under his belt. Remember, he was the first car owner for Andrew Ranger in the NASCAR Canada Series, but that is the kind of luck that that 24 team is having in this 2024 NASCAR Canada season. Thomas Neveu did get a career best fourth place finish at Riverside Speedway on the oval. But yeah, something was leaking for a little while, and then it finally gave up. So fluid down in turn number 6 is the reason for this caution. And the next time they cross the stripe, there will be 9 laps to go. Have a look at the oil on the back spoiler of the 24. The 13 of LP Montour speaking to the Omnifab crew, the 04 of JF Dumoulin. So Dumoulin is up into 4th, and Montour, one of the most exciting drivers to get behind the wheel. He's normally a sports car racer, and when he gets behind the wheel of the NASCAR Canada Series car, the sports cars are so precise and so aero dependent. And he says when you get behind the wheel of one of these cars, he can just fling it around and have some fun. And he does just that almost every single time he makes a start. And he has made a few starts in the last several years and had some pretty good finishes too. But definitely Mr. Excitement behind the wheel of the 13. And unfortunately his day ends early. He's been off the track for quite a while. So we can tell you that LP Montour currently marked in 23rd position. He's 9 laps down. Simon Charbonneau 16 laps down. A couple of drivers having issues today, not going the way they thought it would, as a huge field of 31 cars took the green. 32 entries. But unfortunately, J.F. LaBerge in the Dagobert Chevrolet made contact with the concrete wall in practice, unable to start this main event this weekend. So we had 31 official starters. That is just short of a record for this event. That record would have been 33 on a couple of different occasions. There's the street sweeper. So Speedy Dry going down and being cleaned up right away on the exit of turn number 6. So it looks like that was leaking a little bit for a long time. So not a lot of fluid has been put down, but it should be tidied up fairly quickly. Still 9 laps to go. So we're not quite at the point where we're talking about a green-white checker, but this is going to set up a restart. And restarts are always fun. Remember last year it was the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron who took over top spots in that race, and the 47 of LP Dumoulin made an early stop and admitted later on that he just didn't have the tires left, didn't have the forward drive left to mount a proper challenge. So the 47 of LP Dumoulin came home in second spot 1 year ago. Alex Tagliani, who's had some trouble here today, finished in the top 3. Gary Kloot unable to make it this weekend because of his wife expecting their second child. Big congratulations to Gary Kloot and family. And then DJ Kennington in the 17 finished in the top 5. So this gives an opportunity for Kennington. We talked about second chances for several drivers. Andrew Ranger got one after bouncing off the tire wall, and the caution coming out for his debris that was left behind. So he currently sits in second spot. JF Dumoulin has a crunched nose, but he appears to be okay. Simon Zion-Vienne has a missing left front fender, and he's sitting inside the top 10. So yeah, it's a day of survival for a lot of these drivers. DJ Kennington got turned on that last caution, but stayed on the lead lap. It took a little bit longer than he would have liked to refire the Castrol Edge Dodge, but a puff of black smoke was seen and he got going, and currently sits in 13th position behind Larry Jackson and Donald Teach. Simon Zion-Vienne currently sitting in 10th. Jason Hathaway 9th. LP Dumoulin, who had troubles, made a pit stop, came and got some right side tires, and now Kennington is going to come down pit lane. So Kennington is the second last car on the lead lap. So this won't penalize him that much, but I believe he's going to take 4 new General tires, and this is exactly what he's going to do. Maybe even just 2 tires, because all you do is turn left here at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières, but nope, they're going to do all 4. Let's put ourselves in a position to do the best we can in the last stages of this race. You can see a little bit of damage there to the left rear corner caused by the contact with the 3 car of Jason Hathaway. Well, that's just body damage. Sticker tires, brand new General tires for the last dash to the finish here for the Castrol Edge team of DJ Kennington. And Kennington very much involved in those decisions. Rick Verburn is his crew chief, but if you listen to their radio, if you have a scanner at the track when you come and watch the NASCAR Canada Series, you can hear those 2 drivers, the driver and the crew chief, longtime friends. They've worked together on crews for years, and Kennington will have a discussion, and ultimately the 2 will make a decision. It's not necessarily a crew chief just mandating what's going to happen, but there's ideas coming and a discussion that happens. In this case, Kennington, who was essentially the last car on the lead lap, he was the second last car on the lead lap, will now be the last car on the lead lap. What do you have to lose at this point? You've got 7 laps to go currently. The light's off on the pace car right now. And now you've got fresh General tires, and you're going to start at the tail of the lead lap cars as soon as you're able to catch up. So the lights were off on the pace car as they were headed towards turn number 8. We'll see if they still have a start in mind, but the field was doubling up. And again, it will be 6 laps to go if this is in fact the time for a restart. And I can hear the cars headed down the front chute. So yeah, restart happens. Green flag is up as the 39 gets into the back of the 27. Gannett roughing up Andrew Ranger into through turn number 1. Look at Dumoulin dive to the inside in the 04 to protect that spot. Hangs the 36 of Alex LeVay out to dry. Now Gannett's going to follow through. Lessard will try to do the same in the 7. This is going to get dicey with 6 laps to go here in the Rousseau Metals 60 at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. You can see through that speedy dry. That's not smoke from these cars. That's the speedy dry left behind after the broken number 24. Look at this restart as everybody scatters. And Larry Jackson goes around. The Big Chief Meat Snacks and Dave Corsol. Whoa, what a hang-on job for the driver of the 54. He was looking at a matched-up race car, but Larry Jackson gets turned in turn number 2. We stay green, most importantly, as we click off yet another lap here for the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron. Your race leader, he's ahead of a fellow GM Paye sponsor, number 27, Andrew Ranger. The Omnifab 04 of JF Dumoulin sitting in 3rd. Alex Gannett and Alex LeVay 4th and 5th. LP Dumoulin is up inside the top 10 now, chasing Raphael Lessard. He took a look on the 7 going into turn number 6. He wasn't near close enough to make that move, but what he's done is he's filled the driver's head with some thoughts that a pass could be coming. That's what you want to do. You want to take away the focus of the driver in front, fill their mirror with as much pressure as you can, and that's what Andrew Ranger is trying to do to Marc-Antoine Cameron. It's not something you can do easily to a driver of that stature. Cameron, we should mention, has a ton of experience on this track as they come to 5 to go. The signal from starter Mike Charret in the flag stand. 5 more laps for Marc-Antoine Cameron or Andrew Ranger to try and catch him. But you think about the laps that Marc-Antoine Cameron has done here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, whether it's in a Formula 1600 car. He's raced here in sports cars in years gone by, and of course, the many years of NASCAR Canada Series action on the streets here in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. Now Dumoulin is close enough into the braking zone, up alongside the Lions of Trois-Rivières, number 7 of Raphael Lessard, and give that spot into the tire wall. Goes the 3 of Jason Hathaway. He caught the inside of turn number 6 and he stuffed it into the tires. The Assa Abloy Weiser locks number 3 badly damaged on the front end. You saw the engine refire, but there is a full course caution. Oh baby. Look at that, just a nick of the concrete wall as Jason Hathaway was trying to get as close as he could to that apex of the corner. And he caught it with the left front tire. And an uncharacteristic mistake from a driver like Jason Hathaway, former champion of the NASCAR Canada Series. And there you see the damage done to the nose of the Assa Abloy number 3. He was very lucky, actually, that no other driver in behind caught the back end of that 3 car. The thing about corner number 6 is if you've made your way around here, even if in a street car, you don't have to be in a race car, you don't have to do it at speed, but it gives you an idea of how blind a lot of these corners are. You can't see through the corner. If there's an issue way up ahead, you don't know it's there until you get there, and that's what a lot of these drivers had faced, with Hathaway sitting in the wall in turn number 6 and now struggling to get that car refired. I think he just can't see to drive it back to the paddock area, so he's going to wait for a tow or at least somebody to push the hood back down. The cleanup crew on scene, most importantly, that's the safety team on scene, checking on the well-being of Jason Hathaway. You can see him communicating with one of the officials through the driver's side window, so they're giving the thumbs up. Hathaway indicating he is okay. He did back up the car and move it out of the tire wall, so that is good news. But disappointing end for the run for the driver out of Stouffville, Ontario, just north of Toronto in the EHR Ed Hackinson Racing entry. Jason getting out of the car wearing several different hats over several years. He was a car chief, crew chief, car owner, and decided this year he wanted to get back in himself and go racing in the NASCAR Canada Series. And again, he was doing very well, 5th in points coming into this one, just 3 points up on 6th place for DJ Kennington. But yeah, heartbreak for that team, and it's just that, it's a game of inches here at the Circuit de Trois-Rivières and the streets of Trois-Rivières, and sometimes the inches go your way and sometimes they don't. And unfortunately for Hathaway, he just caught that concrete. He's on a little bit of puff, and it wasn't necessarily that something broke in the front end. It just sort of pushes the car out, and there's really no runoff in turn number 6. You're just met with a tire wall at that point. So the field continues under caution, and the cleanup continues in turn number 6. And we can tell you laps do count under caution. And that's important to know, because the field has just clicked off the 58th lap. So there's 2 laps to go on the original Rousseau Medal 60 here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. So what does that mean? Well, if we get a green-white checker, go into NASCAR overtime, well, who took the most gas? Who just took enough to make it to the end? Who has that safety net built in? And who's been saving? These are all questions that the drivers will face. I've heard some of these drivers say their car is a little worse on fuel mileage than some of the others that are out there on the track. And so we'll get to see who has been maybe not so hard on the gas over the course of this event. Can you save? Does it matter with the 27 of Andrew Ranger starting alongside the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron? Are they going to make contact going into turn number 1 or 2? Will the 04 come through and steal a victory? What is going to happen? We know that they're going to make an attempt at a green flag finish here in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. The fans deserve it. They've come out in droves on this beautiful Sunday, and we thank you very much for joining us as well here today. What an event it has been. We're just about an hour and a half into it, and it has been exciting from start to finish. Normally you say, well, this is going to be exciting, and you think, well, really? But no, this one has been. There's been storylines all over the place. Let's have another look. This was not the original start, but this is one of the many restarts that we have faced over the course of the day, and this is the one where thump, the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron gave a little nudge to the 74 of Kevin Lacroix. Then Kevin Lacroix settled into 2nd spot. That was a engine expiry on the 1 of JP Bergeron. The E-Racer goes up in smoke. Then another restart as they tried it again. And again, more contact. And this one nearly ended the day for the 17 of DJ Kennington. There was contact with the 3 of Jason Hathaway. Might have actually caught the wall on the exit of turn number 1. It bounced off the wall and into the 17. This is the trouble for the 74 of Kevin Lacroix with a broken axle that took him out of this event. The 80 of, that was the blow up, whatever the the parts malfunction for the 24 of Thomas Nevers. So he's currently in 22nd spot. Can tell you that Alex Tagliani, with all of his troubles, he keeps seeing shots of that Saint-Hubert number 80. With all of his troubles, he's 5 laps down, but he's in 20th position, and he's set to gain another position over the 3 of Jason Hathaway. So realistically, not a bad day considering everything that has gone wrong for that 80 team, but that's pretty much where we're at right now with the 96 Marc-Antoine Cameron, who has laid down the quickest lap. Now, I can tell you off the original start, he made contact with the 74 of Kevin Lacroix and actually touched the tire wall on the exit of turn number 2. No harm, no foul. It was just a rub. And then shortly after, he dropped back several positions, though. Shortly after, though, he laid down the quickest lap time of anybody. And we can tell you that it's about a half a second quicker than any other driver has turned at all this afternoon. It was back on lap number 5, and I can tell you, having been in the driver's seat of a race car in the past, when something like that happens, the driver has a little extra push behind him, you could say, as the elbows get up. You really want to get back to that position that you felt you were robbed of. And Marc-Antoine Cameron started laying down quick lap after quick lap, and you knew it was just a matter of time before you saw that number 96 back in the front of the field. But this is not a slam dunk. Far from it. And now Cameron will have the 27 of Andrew Ranger alongside again, side-by-side restarts every single time we go back to green here in the NASCAR Canada Series. Side by side, lights off on the pace car. And we're coming up to the restart. So Ranger will start on the outside of the front row. The 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron leading them to the restart zone here on the front straightaway. The green flag is up once again. We're in NASCAR overtime here in the Grand Prix of 20 here in the Rousseau Medal 60. Side by side into turn number 2, and Ranger's not quite there. Look at Alex Gannett. He gets into the 04 of Dumoulin. A bunch of cars get involved, including the 39 of Gannett, the 04 of Dumoulin, and several other cars had to slow to avoid. I saw the 73 of Donald Teach managed to blow up enough to avoid any sort of contact, but that day is done for Alex Gannett. Look at the nose of Alex Labay on the 36. So Ranger and the 96, Marc-Antoine Cameron, managed to make it through turn number 1. Not everyone did, though. Have a look. So Gannett bounces off the concrete there, makes contact with the 04, and this is in front of the field, so look what happens afterwards. There's the initial contact with the 04. Gannett has nowhere to go, so he comes back across the track. There's the stack up in behind. And the 47 of LP Dumoulin also involved, this time on the left-hand side. So he gets connected on the front end of the Wallanac Casino. Number 39 of Alex Gannett, and he won't be happy with that. Was sitting in 4th spot. And contact was made, pushing him off into the concrete wall into turn number 2, and then he bounced back and got back into the Omnifab 04 of LP Dumoulin, or JF Dumoulin, I should say. And JF Dumoulin was able to drive away from the scene of that incident. He's currently listed in 12th position. But how bad was the damage to the Omnifab 04? It looked pretty significant, as Alex Labay and the 7 car of Raphael Lessard actually rubbing, going, yeah, there you can see a shake of the head as Alex Gannett not happy. And the damage is, it appears to be on the right-hand side, but the nose is dangling a little bit on the 36 of Alex Labay. He's submarined the back of the 39 of Alex Gannett. And now it's a driver's meeting in the runoff area of turn number 2. And it looks like they're all going to get a ride back to the paddock area. There was Kevin Lacroix, Simon Charbonneau, and the 39 of Alex Gannett. There is the Omnifab 04 of JF Dumoulin. So he is still out on the track, and he is still on the lead lap, believe it or not. So he's sitting in 12th spot. But that car is very damaged on the front end. We'll see if NASCAR's taking a close look at that, and we'll call him in to make some repairs. Parts and pieces being picked up. You can see a lot of the body work that you don't necessarily see. There's the air box that we've talked about several times, and a lot of things that keep the air moving underneath the engine compartment of the 39 of Alex Gannett. But the driver out of Terrebonne, Quebec, is one of the few events that he is doing in 2024. He'd hoped to do a full season, and unfortunately plans didn't quite come together as he'd wanted to. But it still had 2 top 5 finishes here in 2024 in just 3 starts. Unfortunately, won't get a podium here today. We're going to try it again. Another attempt at a green flag finish. Let's take a look at some of the surprises that have now worked their way forward with all of this chaos happening in the late stages of this race. So you know Marc-Antoine Cameron is out in front. You know Andrew Ranger has been keeping him honest in 2nd spot. But Raphael Lessard currently listed in 3rd position. Alex Labay in 4th. LP Dumoulin back up into 5th spot. Simon Zion-Vienne, what a run for that driver in the 37. DJ Kennington has rebounded into 7th position. Donald Teege, he was a lap down at one point. He's sitting in 8th spot in the 73. Jocelyn Fecteau, also a lap down at one point, is in 9th position. Larry Jackson, who had a spin, is in 10th. Herbie Drescher in 11th. Steve Cote in 12th. And then the 04 of JF Dumoulin currently listed in 13th position on the racetrack. But the 47 of LP Dumoulin is going to come down pit lane. He was in 5th. He's got some bodywork dragging on the left side. And it looks as though a left rear tire down as well. So yeah, he does have a flat left rear tire. Remember, he caught the nose of the 39 of Alex Gannett as he was trying to go around. So has to be the unluckiest of days for the 47 of LB Dumoulin, as he has been caught up in 2 wrecks. Remember, he caught the 27 of Andrew Ranger as Ranger went into the tire wall in turn number 6, and then he catches this mess in turn number 2 trying to avoid it. So that cut down the left rear tire. That puts the number 7 of Raphael Lessard up into 3rd. 4th is Alex Labbé, and now Simon Zion-Vienne is in 5th position after that pit stop by the 47 of LP Dumoulin. He'll come back out in 14th position, so it'll be the last driver on the lead lap. We've already completed 63 laps, so the question of fuel again needs to come up. Who has taken, who has saved, and who might run out? So the cleanup nearly complete in turn number 2. We are in the late stages here of the Rousseau Medal 60 at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. 31 cars started this event, and there has been a high level of attrition, especially in the late moments of this race, as the cleanup crew, most importantly the street sweeper, works to clean up all of that speedy dry. That's on the outside of turn number 2 after contact between the 39 of Alex Gannett and the 04 of JF Dumoulin. That ultimately ended the day for Alex Gannett. As you see the field still cycling single file, trying to save some fuel as much as they can, because remember, it was a short pit stop for a lot of these drivers, and for most, that pit stop came very early in this event, talking like 5 laps to 9 laps, making that stop. So now with a second attempt at a green-white checker and working into NASCAR overtime with 64 laps already completed, a lot of crews will be starting to go through the numbers and potentially getting pretty nervous, wondering what's going to happen and how much that Sunoco fuel will last in their tanks to get them to the end of this one. It is going to be an exciting dash to the finish. It looks like the cleanup is complete in turn number 2. When we do see the lights go off on the pace car, it'll be right around turn number 7. So that's just after that tight corner in turn number 6. The light's still on right now. It's actually a series of corners. We call it the back straightaway, but you can see 4 and 4A. Then there's a kink that is turn number 5. It's really sort of a veering of number 5 as you head towards this area. And you can see the Rousseau signs that's indicating how far it is to that corner for these drivers to know when to downshift. So that is into a tight turn number 6. And hearing a engine pickup revs, likely that the free pass car has been given the free pass and allowed to move on. So the light's likely going out on the pace car this time by, but still waiting for official word of that. They're still single file. Now they're doubling up. Nope, still single file. Lights still on the pace car. So not quite yet. We're going to do one more at least. But did you see the 36 of Alex Labbé? Now, he's a driver who has done fuel mileage racing because he is a veteran of the NASCAR Xfinity Series down in the U.S. He knows how to save fuel. So if he starts to think we might be getting close, you saw the black smoke, the black puffs of smoke coming out of the exhaust pipe. That's not because that car stalled, it's because he shut it off. So you take a little bit, you put it in neutral, and then you shut that car off, and if the engine's not running, it's not using any fuel, so you get to save. you kick it back on when you need it again. And that's what Alex Labbé is doing in order to preserve as much fuel as he can. But the field now doubled up, or will be doubling up, as he seemed to be ready. Normally at a short track, you double up at the start-finish line. At a road course, it's not necessarily the case. There you can see the top drivers swerving to try and maintain as much heat as they can. They have been doing an awful lot of caution lapping, so the heat does go out of these general tires. A green flag in the hands of Mike Charret, the official starter for the NASCAR Canada Series, in the tower here at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. So an indication that the pace car will be looking for pit lane. There's the lights off on the pace car, the light bar across the top, and look at some of these vehicles and how damaged they are. Bodywork hanging off every corner in some cases, but it's going to be a slugfest and a fight to the end here in the Rousseau Medal 60 at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. Andrew Ranger still as hungry as ever to visit victory lane for a record 5th time on the streets of Trois-Rivières. It's been a while since he's done it. The driver sitting directly to his right and currently the race leader did it just last year. Marc-Antoine Cameron visited victory lane in 2023. Can he do it again? What's going on with Ranger? He's yet to pull up to his position, and I think he's out of gas. The 27 is out of fuel, and caution flag flies for the GM Paille Chevrolet of Ranger as he was pulling up. And the nose completely torn off the 36 of Alex Labbé, but Ranger out of gas off of turn number 11 on lap 66. So a race that was scheduled to go 60 laps, now with NASCAR overtime, has gone 66, and now a push required. And look, some body damage hanging off the 36 of Alex Labbé, and he was the one directly in behind. And Ranger swerving back and forth, trying to get some fuel picked up in the tank so he could fire that car back up. It didn't help, and then he gets a whack in the back from the 36 of Alex Labbé. A couple of other drivers swerving to avoid, including DJ Kennington. And the rest of the field comes through, well aware that the 27 is out of gas, but heartbreak for that team. A huge contingent of supporters here in the GM Paille crew. They have rented out large sections of these suites and grandstands and brought a big fan club. So one driver still leads, as you can see. The 7 car of Raphael Lessard is trying the fuel-saving method as well. You saw a puff of black smoke. He's a veteran of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, after running in that series for several years. So again, it's all an education. You all learn every step of the way. And is that Herbie Drescher? I believe it might be. Yeah, the 53, you see it on the roof. Herbie Drescher out of gas on the back straightaway. So I suspect that more and more of these drivers are going to fall to the wayside, out of gas. And I think Ranger just wants to get into the runoff area in turn number 3, or at least get a push. But the cleanup crew, because he was unable to refire, they wanted to try and give him a bump start, and that didn't necessarily work, because if there's no fuel in the tank, it's not going to fire. But Ranger, who ended last year with a car on his roof, has the back bumper cover torn off on the GM Paille number 27 this year after spinning in turn number 6, under braking. And losing that back bumper cover, but carrying on, continuing on. That car not really affected by that. As a matter of fact, aerodynamics might have even been better because all of the air from under the car just completely goes out. It doesn't get caught by anything. And you can see the field just going by the 27 of Andrew Ranger. And now it's an uphill run from here. So a downhill run through the Duplessis gates that allows the car to get to that point. And you can see the wrecker is coming. They just needed the field to get through there first. So Ranger will get a push back to the pit area. And the crew will go to work to try and get some gas in it. But unfortunately for him, the damage has been done. A lap down now for the 27 of Andrew Ranger. As laps continue to tick and laps continue to count. And we're approaching 2 hours of runtime for this Rousseau Medal 60 here at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. And we can tell you that now promotes the 7 of Raphael Lessard up into second spot. Alex Labbé is still in third, yet to be determined if he'll have to make a pit stop to take care of some of that dangling bodywork on the number 36 AB Express, coming on board the Labbé team to help them out here at this race at Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. And again, building that team very slowly and methodically is Alex Labbé. And there's Dave Coursol in the 54. He saw that avoidance maneuver he had to get around the spinning number 84 of Larry Jackson earlier on in this race, and smartly stops for gas. Quick splash of gas for the driver of the 54. The crew is going to take a look at the right side, and it looks like they're going to put some gently used tires, scuffs on at the very least, but the right side of the tires that get the worst level of wear here at Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, and that's because there's so many left-hand turns. It's 11 turns, only 3 of them are right-handers, and 1 of them is turn 7, which isn't really a turn. But they're all left hand, left hand, left hand. So changing just right side tires is really not a bad strategy for some of these teams and drivers. And Andrew Ranger wants the tow truck driver to pick up the pace a little bit and get him back to the pit lane where he can get a splash of Sunoco fuel and refire to avoid going more laps down. Right now he's just the 1 lap down to the race leader, but they are coming. And no doubt Ranger just trying to push that car in his mind back to his pit area. He needs the push, and now crews are going to jump out and try and catch up. It's a little bit of a downhill run that's giving him a bit of a boost, but 68 laps now clicked off for the race leader, so that puts the 27 of Andrew Ranger now 2 laps down to the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron. Why is that significant? Well, it is because if you take a look at the point standings, you have Marc-Antoine Cameron, who is your points leader, at 339 points coming into this event. You have Kevin Lacroix, who was second in points, at 329, so just 10 points further back. He's out of the race. You have Andrew Ranger, who was 11 points further back at the top spot. Andrew Ranger has run into some trouble here today, running out of gas. And now he's going to need a bump start to get the number 27 refired. You can hear the starter motor. And there it finally refires on pit lane. Herbie Drescher also got some gas in the 53, a splash. His car fired up a little bit easier than did the 27, but we'll talk about the point standings. And LP Dumoulin, remember Dumoulin had to come in and take that left rear tire, so that dropped him down the running order just a little bit. But he'll still come out of this race with a decent points finish. And DJ Kennington, if everything remains equal, sitting in 5th position. Once again, DJ finishing 5th last year. The Castrol Edge Dodge sitting pretty again for a top 5 right now. And Kennington stands to gain some ground on the cars in front of him in the point standings here in the NASCAR Canada Series. You can see Dominic Scrivo waving the field by. He's more than happy to tag on to the back. He's not involved in the points race, nor is he really a factor in this one. Although he sits in 13th position, according to our official timing and scoring. So not having a bad day at all, actually, for Dominic Scrivo. A couple laps down. The field lining up 2 by 2. Let's give this another shot, shall we? Lights off on the pace car. It's down pit lane. Look at the wrecks of race cars at the front of this field, and they're contending for wins. The 96, Marc-Antoine Cameron, once again will lead him to the restart zone here on the front straightaway out of turn number 11. All cars remain fired up. The green flag is once again up, and we're back underway. And Lessard gets all kinds of crooked as Simon Dion leads on him in turn number 1. LeBay on the outside in turn number 2. They'll go side by side through there. Who's going to give into turn number 3? And it's Lessard who's going to break early. DJ Kennington steals away a spot. So does LP Dumoulin as Simon Dion gets shoveled back several positions. Larry Jackson's going to pick up one as well. At the front, though, the number 96, Marc-Antoine Cameron, is leading that car that is just barely hanging on of Alex LeBay. The number 36 is in 2nd position. But for how much longer, as Raphael Lessard is putting on the pressure. Now a pair of Chevys chasing the GM Paille number 96 as Cameron well out in front as parts and pieces falling off the 36 of Alex LeBay. White flag is up. One more lap to go for the driver out of St. Leonard d'Asno, Quebec. Marc-Antoine Cameron, the defending race winner here at the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières, is looking to go back-to-back at this event, and he's got a comfortable lead to do that. But what is going to happen behind him? We've seen the white flag, so whatever happens from now on, this race will be considered official, and it looks like Lessard is falling back, and potentially here the 47 of LP Dumoulin could take advantage. He's looking in turn number 6. A little nudge there on the 7 of Raphael Lessard. Not a big push, but this is all playing out behind your race leader, the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron, who is setting sail, riding off into the distance through turn number 9 for the final time, and on to turn number 10. Listen to this crowd get animated as Cameron makes his way onto the front straightaway. Big problems for the 7 and the 47, but Cameron will win on the streets of Trois-Rivières, Quebec. A big wreck coming to the line between Lessard and Dumoulin as those cars destroyed. Going into turn number 1, smoke coming off both of them, the bodies just barely hanging on. And Lessard will finish on the final step of the podium. 3rd place behind the 36 of Alex LeBay, but my goodness, what a race and what a finish and what carnage here in the NASCAR Canada Series. DJ Kennington with some damage himself, but a solid top 5. And Larry Jackson, 6th place in the Big Chief Meat Snacks. Number 84, Donald Teach, a rebound day. Donald Teach coming back for 8th position. Steve Cote in 9th. Jocelyn Fecteau, a top 10, as JF Dumoulin comes home in 11th position. According to our official timing, this is the run to the line for 3rd place. There's Lessard, and he does not want the 47 to pass him. And into the wall goes LP Dumoulin, and he fights back almost to the wall. Didn't quite catch it, but boy, what a fight back. And there you can see damage to the 96 GM Paillet car of Marc-Antoine Cameron as well. He didn't have an untouched day. Remember, he caught the tire wall on lap number 1, had to fight back through a crowd of cars. And look at this crowd, all on their feet. Hats off, hands in the air, and big applause for the race winner. And what a show here in the Rousseau Medal 60. Here at the Grand Prix de Trois Rivières, the top 3 will come to a stop here on the front straightaway. And head over to the podium area in turn number 1. And I don't think Marc-Antoine Cameron has enough gas to do a victory lap, or maybe not even a donut. He doesn't. The shrug of the shoulders from Marc-Antoine Cameron. He holds the checkered flag, and that's as far as that car is going to go. That gives you an indication of the fumes that the 96 was running on at the end of this race. It does fire a little bit, but it's not going to run very far. Shake of the head from Cameron. And LP Dumoulin out of the car, takes the helmet off as the crew tries to piece together that fiberglass body that is hanging off on the right side. But for a 4th place finish and a decent points day, LP Dumoulin not happy at all. No doubt we'll have some words with Raphael Lessard when the 7 car makes his way back to the paddock area. Somebody's doing donuts. It's not Marc-Antoine Cameron at this point. Still waiting for a splash of Sunoco fuel or a push. There's Lessard, who's out, being interviewed by the TSN crew. And Lessard, a very different reaction to the end of that race after getting 3rd. And LP Dumoulin obviously unhappy with his 4th position after the rough running at the end of that race. But realistically, if you're sitting in the crowd and you just saw what was happening, man, could you believe it? Alex Labbé, also a good run for the driver of the 36 out of St. Albert, Quebec. And now finally a push truck comes for the 96 of Marc-Antoine Cameron, heading down towards turn number 1. And that is where the podium area has been set up here at the Grand Prix de Trois Rivières. That's because the largest grandstand is in that turn 1 area. And so Cameron, who had expected to do a victory lap here, unable to do so because of a lack of fuel. But what a race, and we'll take you through the top 10 finishers once again here in the Rousseau Medal 60. Marc-Antoine Cameron followed home by Alex Labbé, Raphael Lessard, and LP Dumoulin, DJ Kennington, Larry Jackson, Simon Zion-Vienne, Donald Teach, Steve Cote, Jocelyn Fecteau. That is your top 10. JF Dumoulin, Serge Bordeaux, Dominic Scrivo, Andrew Ranger, Dave Corsall, Ben Kutzer, Herbie Drescher, and then the cars that had some issues throughout the day, Alex Tagliani, Frederick Lattiser, Alex Gannett, Jason Hathaway, Thomas Neveu, Kevin Lacroix, LP Montour, Simon Charbonneau, and Glenn Stiers. As he hops out, a wave of the checkered flag, his arms in the air, and a big smile on the face of today's winner, the number 96, Marc-Antoine Cameron. Well, what a race. Thank you very much for joining us for an extended distance Rousseau Medal 60 here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Once again, I'm Dave Bradley, and it's been my pleasure to bring you every second of the action here today. Boy, was there a lot of it. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next year from the streets of Trois-Rivières.